friends.
Whenever clouds start gathering to cover up the sun, it really doesn't mean a thing to me.
It is Tuesday. It is not Wednesday, which I thought it was all day at work. A mild road bump today. It was okay. Today, I've been thinking about the service industry and the concept of tipping. You may think I only think about that because I work in the service industry. No, I also just care a lot about anyone who is in service of other people, and I want them to be appreciated. I think it's an interesting conversation to have with people from other countries where they don't tip, they just pay those workers more in the first place. And it's often considered offensive to tip because that's not part of the process. And I'd like to have a conversation with my sister about that at some point because she has been in a country where they don't tip. But for now, let's just explore a little bit of what could be better in this country and the way we handle tipping. A lot of people don't do the math on how much they're tipping from their actual bill. I know this because I get a lot of $1 and $2 tips from $30 orders. That is not the proper math to do, but I don't do the math when I tip. I just have a certain standard I hold myself to no matter what the bill is. And then if it's a bigger bill than the average, I try to up that. But why is that? Why do I choose to tip more rather than just determining it based on the level of quality in the service? Well, because you don't know what's happening in that person's life. Maybe they have had to wait 80 tables in the last 2 hours as opposed to 40. It's possible in some places. Maybe if they're a delivery driver, they have to split their tips. I don't have to. I'm so fortunate that Panera does not do that. They let us keep all of our tips. But most other places don't do that. What if you're a hairdresser and you would really like to be tipped because you do a good job and you connect with your customers, but then they leave you a crappy tip or nothing at all? If you're not an extrovert, that's a really hard work to try to be friendly and polite to everyone you meet. And not just like surface level polite, but like making sure that all their needs are met and that they're happy. That's just it. It's something I haven't ever understood, is why do Americans just automatically assume that it's acceptable to expect that level of service without thanking that person for serving. In a perfect world, the service industry workers would receive a fair wage and also fair tips for their work. So sometimes I receive a $5 tip from someone who ordered food for one person. That's on the higher end of the average for tips at my job. And like, that's fine. We get paid for mileage as well, so it adds up. But the average person usually tips $2 or $3 at the most. And I don't know, like, you're tipping this person because you're thanking them for their service. Well, what does that service entail? Well, for delivery drivers, you're checking the order, you're bagging the order, you're driving it in your car, sometimes in crazy traffic, and you're delivering it to the correct address, trying to do it early or on time based on when it's supposed to be due by, and you're being friendly with someone you've never met, no matter what is happening in your own life. And then you're braving the traffic to go back and do it all over again. I think that deserves a pretty decent thank you. And if you can afford to buy those services instead of making the food yourself or cutting your own hair, I think you can probably afford to drop $5 extra at the least. no matter what the bill is. What do other people tip on average? Do you have a standard for what you must tip? Do you hold that to yourself, or do you base it on the percentage rule? Or do you just do it based on how good the service was? It depends on the person, and I'm curious to know, like, am I abnormal for having just a certain number that I for sure give? I don't know. What do you think? Think about it. Feel free to tell me what you think, and I'll talk to you tomorrow.